They will dub me, sworn to love of him I love so well. Another dawn broke, and its light fell over her as Maria paced up and down in the garden. Not the same garden as the day before. This secluded garden held a special place in her heart. She spent many mornings in this garden with Will, whiling away the hours, playing their instruments and melding their voices together in song. She shook her head, her heartbeat drumming loud in her ears. Will may not come. But the servant she sent to Will last night had returned and told her he would be here. She could not think of one time when he failed to come to her. The morning bird songs did not comfort her today. Her meeting with the king yesterday pushed her back into a dark world, stripped of any illusion of possessing any power over her life. She dropped to her knees beside a garden bed of basil and began wildly tugging at the weeds, tossing them in a pile next to her. When Will rested his hand on her shoulder, she almost jumped out of her skin. "What is wrong, Maria?" She wiped her wet eyes with her sleeve and sat back on the grass. Will crouched down next to her, gazing at her in amusement. "Love?" She closed her eyes. "Dear God, help me, please help me." Averting her eyes from him, she locked her eyes onto the purplish pink foxgloves growing in a clump in a corner of the garden. Dappled by light, the bell-like flowers bobbed back and forth in the breeze. They did not look deadly, but pretty, enticing, inviting the touch of hand. If they did not treat Dropsy, she would have pulled them all out and add them to her weed pile. See, beauty often hides ugliness too. She stole a look at Will. Like my love for him, it makes of me a sinner, consuming me with desire until I hate my virginity and wish to sin. "I cannot do this any more," she said. Will frowned. "You cannot do what?" "Us. I cannot be simply your friend. It's destroying me." He stared at her, the bones of his face becoming distinct. "You want to end what we have together?" Maria entwined her fingers into the grass at either side of her and held on. "What do we have? We cannot marry, and I cannot be your mistress. We decided this years ago. I am who I am, and you are a man who wishes to remain a man of honour. The Queen has never been happy we continue to meet, and for what? For us to keep a light of fire burning which rightly should have been put out years ago." He shifted closer, resting his hand on her. "You cannot mean this. You have my heart and only you. As for the fire, it did not give us any choice. Who can choose where they love?" Removing her hand from underneath his, Maria clasped her hands on her lap and shut her eyes, unable to look at his white, agonized face for one more moment. "I must stay strong. There's too much at stake for the king to know I love Will, heart and soul. He will only use the knowledge to destroy the man I love and destroy me by doing so." Opening her eyes, she stared at her hands. Dirt from the garden was ingrained under her short fingernails and into the lines of her skin. She held her hands until they hurt. Her knuckles became bone white. "Make an end, fool. Do not draw it out." She gathered her courage and raised her eyes to his. "You also love your wife." "Yes, I've never lied to you about that, but it's not like the love I bear for you. No matter, Will. The love you give to me is rightfully hers. It is wrong you avoid her bed because you wish to be faithful to me. We must face how things truly stand between us. You need an heir I cannot give to you. I can no longer bear to think I've robbed you of children, or from a woman who deserved better from us. I do not understand. Only days ago you did not speak of this. All then was as it ever was." His eyes widened. "Is it because of Edmund? Are you angry at me because I sent you that note?" "I only asked you to speak to the Queen because we are hopeful for Edmund and Epson's release. Who better to intercede to the King for the lives of two innocent men than his wife?" His probing came too close to the truth. She gripped her hands again, lowered her head and spoke quietly. This has nothing to do with Dudley, but only us. I just never spoke of it before. I kept silent because could not let you go. You are my first love. You'll always be my first love. She swallowed and braved to look his way. But I must speak to you the truth. This wall that we keep between us, oh God, Will, it is too hard. Either it must crumble and all hell lets loose, or we must end it. I am no longer a 16-year-old girl, but a grown woman. I have long been a grown woman. Every time we are together I grow weaker. Even now I look at you and want your lips on mine, your hands on my body. I want you in my bed, but not for careful, cautious love games, which years ago we once chanced. How many years have we not dared to really kiss, or lay in a bed together for yet another time of unfulfilled desires? I cannot go on like this. If you love me and truly wish for me not to be shamed at court, you will let me go. Pray, I beg you will let me go. Will touched her cheek, and she swayed towards him. She stiffened, jerked her face away from him. No, it must end. You truly want this forever? Maria could not look at him. We can speak together in public where others can hear, but we can no longer be alone, and you must go home and make a true marriage with your wife. I cannot believe you're saying this. You break my heart. Maria rose from the ground, unable to stop her tears. It was the hardest thing not to look at him again. My heart breaks too, but for 7 years we lied to ourselves, thinking what we did was right. We were wrong. What we did was always for us, and without care for those we hurt. The time has come for us to open our eyes and make amends, you to your wife and I in service to my queen. If you love me, you must let me go. Picking up her skirts, she turned on her heel and ran from him, trying to block her ears as Will called after her. His voice broke apart in a terrible cry. It sounded like a death knell. And if you would like to find out more what happens next, you have to read the book. Thank you.